Welcome to another episode of the Power Connector podcast. I'm your host, Derek Dickow, where I talk to people from a perspective of being curious, learning a little bit more about what they've done in their career, how they've built their business, and just trying to get an understanding for how they build relationships and value people. With me today is my guest, Rudy Patros, a friend, president, CEO of Securatech, an expert in the field, more than 20 years. And you certainly have had a tremendous transition from in your business to where you are today. And just like to get a little bit more perspective on what you do, how you've done it, and most importantly, how you build relationships with people along the way. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks for having me. 20 something years ago, I needed a job and I didn't know this was going to be it for the rest of my life. So luckily I found a profession that I love. I have a lot of passion towards. I've been blessed with great clients, great employees, and we're continuing to grow, not only in the electronic security space, but also the physical security space. And our clients are always evolving and we're adding new markets to our book of business.
Let's talk about that transition because it's an interesting one. It's kind of like the retelling of the American dream. You come, work hard. All you do is work hard and save money, and then all of a sudden an opportunity arises. What was that moment for you as you were coming up some 27 years ago?
My father, God rest his soul, wanted me. I wasn't a school-bound kid. It just wasn't for me. I was bored out of my mind trying college. So he wanted me to get into a family business. And our typical family business in our culture was working about 16 hours a day and making little to nothing. So I did that for a short period of time before I almost lost it. And in doing that, I needed some security for the family business. And I remember meeting a guy in the security space. And he was dressed nice and he looked like he was making some money. And fast forward to when I got out of the business, I'm going through the newspaper because that's what you did back then. You know, there was no Monster or Indeed and all this fun stuff we have today. And a local alarm company was hiring, and I applied for a job. And really, that's all she wrote. Within no time, I was one of the top people there, and had a great mixture of clients and did really well. And as most entrepreneurs are, they eventually say, hey, I don't want to give a bunch of my money to somebody else. I want to do it on my own.
Mm.
And, that's kind of the birth of Securatech.
So tell me a little bit more about when you found that job opportunity. Was it for like an initial opening, simple job? Like,
So
what was the description
funny thing
of
is the company had a armored truck division. And they wanted me to manage that because I had manager experience owning a family business. And I walked in there and there was pallets of money and guys with machine guns. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. So I left. I went back to the HR lady and I said, can I just get a sales job? I knew I was always good at sales. My first job was selling suits in the mall while I was in high school. And she's like, well, it's commission only. I said, perfect. I'll take it. And within a year, I was by far the top selling person there. And I just love the field. There's something unique about security. You're able to help people, make them feel good. It's just a very respectable profession.
you're helping people,
and it's not going anywhere.
Sure. So you started entry level, commission based.
Yeah.
Dialing family, friends. Give me the lay of the landscape.
Oh, I mean, we would family, friends, anybody I knew, door to door, any type of networking opportunity.
You went door to door?
Oh, I would knock on people's door. Hey, what do you spend on an alarm? $30. I'll do it for 25. Whatever it took. And I worked hard, right? So I did really, really well as a young man in that field from a sales side. And I learned the business, and it was a lot more simple of a business then, right? It wasn't as digital as it is today. The technology was pretty simple. Today is a whole different world where we're learning every day, all day. But back then it was fairly simple, and all they wanted was good customer service and somebody to answer their phone. So
which is like 101 in customer service,
it
right?
It is. But, when you work for a large company, you give them an 800 number after you sell them and you go to the next guy. I never did that. I gave him my cell phone number and I said, hey, I'll push the service through. I'll make sure it gets installed right away. I did the extra. So, that was different than 95% of the sales guys there. And it resonated with people and they loved it. And it allowed me to become really successful.
Early, often. I mean, how within your first 2 years, you say you broke that $100,000 a year?
Oh,
plateau?
First year for sure.
Oh, outstanding.
Yeah, first year for sure. And
this is 25 years ago.
It was a long time ago. But in sales, I was always good. I mean, I remember working at Back Rack in the mall as a kid. I was still in high school and my dad saw my paycheck and flipped out. He's like, there's no way this is real. What is this, for a month? I'm like, no, it's a week. And he's like, this is impossible. So I've always been good at selling. I try to teach people how to sell. I feel like there's very few good salespeople out there. Everybody tries too hard or is cheesy in some way. And I tell everybody when I hire salespeople, just be you. Show them that you care. Give them their options, and let them think on it. Everybody pushes so hard. It's like when you go buy a car, or anything these days. So I just was a natural salesperson. I read books on sales. I was a big fan of like Zig Ziglar and all the authors back then. And that was my education, was just learning, falling, getting up.
Trial and error.
It's
rinse and repeat model. Give us a couple examples of some of your early on sales strategies when you didn't know anyone, you had no idea if anybody was going to buy from you.
I just knock on doors. I mean, I would just get, my thing was, if you get in front of enough people, you're going to sell.
So volume.
It's just volume. And, till I became really good at it and technology really started to evolve, I started learning the new technology where other guys weren't learning it. So, the answer to everything is hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everything in life, right? No matter what it is, personally, professionally, it's hard work. So just worked hard. I'd put those extra hours in. I'd start earlier. I did a lot of reading, read the newspaper, who's opening up, what businesses, is there a new franchise coming to town where a different salesperson would sell one location, I would sell 10 because I found a new franchise that's opening 10 locations.
Mm-hmm.
I started getting strategic in my sales, looking for people with multiple locations. We used to have sales contests when I worked for the company, and guys would sell a onesie, we'd call it, like one location. And I do homework before this thing to find that guy that owns 30 locations. So they come in with one sale and I come in with 30 sales.
So you did a little research in advance of, you just picked up the newspaper, or did you go online? I mean, there wasn't really online stuff.
No, there wasn't online. It was newspaper. It would be asking around, asking friends, hey, who do you know? If you're social, kind of what people do for a living, right? So if I knew a guy owned 25 insurance office locations, I was going to get that guy, and it might just be a bunch of alarm accounts, but sooner or later that guy's going to build a house. He's going to get into a new business. And then, I still have those same customers today. They have always followed me. That was my thing about giving them my cell phone number and not giving them the company's 800 number. So I still have customers from my original sales that have followed me. So
amazing.
Yeah, it feels good because they're loyal to you. And then referrals, starting my own company, you have no budget. So you don't have billboards, you don't have anything. So if people are not referring you business, then, how are you getting business?
I'd love to ask you a little bit more about the referral space, but before I do, let's move back to the point that you just made about contacting people so you had the foresight to see if somebody owns multiple units, they're going to need more service. Your space, from what I understand of it, is a very commoditized business. It's a monthly, this is what we can allocate to security. But over the years, you've had to learn the new methods, the new tech, what's available, how you can problem solve for people. And so you become an expert along the way. I mean, it wasn't just selling alarms anymore. It's a total solution for people.
Where people would try to sell an alarm, I would ask a client, what's the problem? What are you afraid of? What's your biggest fear? And let me back into that solution versus doing it the opposite way where I'm just trying to sell. Guys go for, what they call the hit and run in sales just to make that quick buck. And I was never like that. I would walk away, let somebody else screw up, and then come back and prove that I had the right solution. And we still do that today. So
I think what you're talking about is identifying the problem for people. This is like sales 101. Why do so many people miss that part of the process?
Because I don't think they're natural salespeople. I think that they're scared, and it might be because they're commission-based or commission-driven, and they're trying to make their next buck and not looking far ahead. If you start a sales job today and you say, where do I want to be in 10 years versus what am I going to make this year? You're going to go about it totally different. Mm-hmm. You got to have the ability to do that. And you got to have the ability to, or not the ability, but the desire to work hard enough to be able to do that. You know that instead of me working 40 hours in year one, I'm going to work 60 hours. And then year two, I can go to 55 hours, 58 hours, shrink it a little bit, because every year your phone's going to ring with referrals and people are going to know what you do. And then you want to be that guy that everybody calls in that space.
You want to be the guy.
You want to be the guy.
Yeah.
I think I'm the guy in the security world. Yeah. My phone rings, right? So I'm doing okay there. But, it's like the car guy or the guy who sells suits or the guy who, you want to be that guy or girl. You just want to be that person. That means you're trusted, you're respected. They know you're an expert in that field. And if you can get to that, you'll be successful.
So you mentioned, I love that point. You mentioned that it takes a lot of hard work to get to it, to get to the point where people are referring you business and the hours that you got to put in. Can you talk a little bit about the commitment and sacrifice that you had to pull away early on in your career when people weren't calling you. You had to go bang on their doors.
I mean, we ran into a recession in the beginning. When I started my company a couple of years into it, the whole world tanked. So,
this is 09.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When Securatech was founded, we ran right into that. So, I don't look at hard work as sacrifice. I look at that as natural to me. Mm-hmm. When I even talk to my employees today, and they'll always tell me, you work to live, we live to work, or the opposite. So let me rephrase that. I live to work and they work to live. And I don't really disagree with that because I look at everything a little bit different than they do. I look at every one of my employees like my family. I look at their kids like my kids. Mm-hmm. If they go on vacation, I feel like I went on vacation. So I take pride in that. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I've been going to my office on Sundays after dinner with my family for years.
Wow.
I make sure that my desk is clean, my bills are paid, and I get ready for Monday. That way, when I walk in Monday, I walk in running. I don't want to walk. I don't want to walk in. I know nobody's in my office on Sunday. Nobody's going to knock on the door. Nobody's going to call me. And I can spend 4, 5, 3 hours, whatever it is, just getting ready for the following week. And that has been huge for me. I think it's a great habit, but people look at me like I'm nuts, or, I get a thought in the middle of the night and I send an email at 4:15 in the morning or whatever it is. I think everybody's driven differently. I think if you want to be successful in today's world, you have to stand out. And the easiest way, in my opinion, is work ethic. And then you can change everything after that. You can educate yourself. You can read. You can do so much to make yourself better in every profession.
I love the idea that you mentioned about being the expert, being the person, being the guy that people think about in that specific industry, which is what you chose, or this is your field. You own it.
Yeah.
You wear it everywhere you go, and people know you as the problem solver in this space. You just so happen to do security. I know for 100% if you whatever you picked in your career, you were going to be the guy in that space. It's just the way you're built.
Yeah. Well, we're never satisfied. We always want more, right? I want more clients. I want more referrals. I want to hire more people. At some point you throw in a towel and you say, okay, that's enough. You hand it down, but I'm nowhere near there. I think so. I mean, I think everybody should be, or they're cutting themselves short.
Some people are happy with complacency or mediocrity, and you're out there chasing it.
It's I have these conversations with my employees all the time, or people. I don't. It's funny. Like people count people's money. Don't count their money. Count how many hours they work. Count how many chances they took. How many dinners they missed with their family. How many sports games they didn't go to of their children. Don't count their money, because that money didn't come easily. There's a price to it.
Absolutely.
So, you'll run into that a lot. I'll have an employee say, oh, you got a new car. I say, yeah. So guess what? If at your wage, and Securatech pays very well, if you work 10 or 20 more hours, you could buy anything you want.
That's a good way to look at it.
And they don't ask me. They don't say nothing no more. They know better, because they know I'm in the office on Sundays. They know I'm the first one there in the morning. I'm the last one to leave. So to me, it's all about hard work. It's sacrifice, it's commitment, it's desire. And if you have those traits, you're going to be successful in whatever you do.
I'd like to ask you a question about the way you prioritize events and the different communities of people that you built around you. You're a terrific, fantastic relationship developer. People come to you because of the relationship, right? You're in a commoditized business that they could go anywhere, but they're there for you because of you, because your willingness to be there for them 24 hours a day, and the relationships that you bring. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about your mindset as you approach events. There's a million events. There's the political, there's charity, there's business, there's professional organizations. I know you hop on a plane to attend conferences outside the state. How do you do it all? How do you manage where you invest your time and resources? Because the time is the most important thing. The resources are just a component, a function of it. But there's a lot of places where you could divert your attention. How do you pick and choose what groups and areas to focus with?
I think the answer to your question, and it's a good question, it's a deep question. The answer to your question changes throughout your career. In the beginning, you got to do everything. Your sacrifice needs to be greater. As you get established and as you have a little bit of success, then you have to dial back and say, okay, what do I do now? What's going on in my home life? I have 2 teenage boys. They come first now. When they were babies and I was trying to grow a business, I wouldn't say that. In today's world, if my kid's got a game of some sort and I have an event that is not super important for me to go, I'm not going. If I can make both, I'll do it. I have a lot of energy, but there's only so many hours in a day. So at this point in my career, it's family first. And I think that's crucial, because your children are your legacy at the end of the day. You gotta, let's just say there's 2 events. If there's a charity event and a political event in the same day, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to the charity event.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to cut a check, I'd rather give it to charity than politics. That's just me.
Sure.
You just got to look at what's most important to you. And, and again, there's a lot of answers to that question, because is there somebody there that I've been wanting to meet forever, and I know I'm going to have the opportunity to spend some time with them? That's going to get to the top of the list. Is it a charity that's near and dear to my heart, or I'm on the board of it or something like that? Then that's going to go to the top of my list. Every event's different. You'd have to look at a calendar for a week and say, hey, Rudy, how'd you pick all this? Because there is a lot of things to do. And I probably have slowed down a lot of that just for the pure fact that I'm spending a lot of time with my kids. As you know, this stage in their life is super crucial, and there's no event that's going to come in front of them that's going to change our life.
So you're at the point in your career where it's kids first, baseball games first.
Yeah, when you got teenage boys and every decision they make in life is crucial at this point, and you're molding them into being young men, I think that's first, right? It should be, and it is for me. I'm not going to sacrifice that and then have the kids go in a direction I don't want them to go because I needed to go to some networking event.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I missed one event for one of my kids where he had a great play at a football game and I missed it. And he was so heartbroken that I wasn't there to see it.
Oh, that's
and it killed me.
Yeah, that's tough.
So I do whatever I can do not to be in that position again.
Yeah, but on the come up, right? Early on in your career, how would you distinguish what got priority on your calendar? I mean, you mentioned do everything. I mean,
depending on what the calendar was, you do as much as you can. Early on in the career, there's not a lot of money to do everything if it's expensive, right? But if you get in front of enough people, and people know you're that person in that space, that's really where you want to end up getting there. So networking events to me coming up were the most important because everybody was there to meet somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Politics was not existent till recently in my life. Charity, as you become more successful and you're able to cut a check, it becomes more relevant in your life to give back because you're able to. So I would say it was networking. You know, I started a BNI group in Birmingham when I first started my company from scratch. And people thought I was nuts. Like, you sit in a room for an hour and a half at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you guys are going to share leads. And who's really going to do business with somebody like that? And I got some of my biggest customers that are still my customers out of that group. And I was there for as long as I could be till, I outgrew it myself. And now I send salespeople to be there. That was a great source of generating revenue.
Starting your own networking group.
It was me and a few people. They wanted to start a new BNI chapter. And we had the core of 3 or 4 different businesses that made sense, that had synergy together. And it was great. I mean, I remember I picked up DTE as a client out of a BNI group.
Wow.
And they're like, well, how does that happen?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we got DTE, I said, hey, what are you doing talking to me? I'm this tiny company. I had like 7 employees at the time, if that. And he says, you answer your phone. That was his exact thing. You answer your phone. You never not answer your phone.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I'm in a meeting, hey, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you right back.
And you do that with me.
That is huge because people say he answered his phone while he was in a meeting instead of sending me to voicemail. So if at all possible, I always do that. Is I'll call you right back. I'm sorry, I'm in a meeting. And they know that you acknowledge them and you call them back and that you care that they called you. And I'm going to tell you, I do that for everybody. So I don't care if you're a tiny customer, a mom and pop shop, or if you're a big corporation, everybody gets the same attention with me.
I love that. Yeah, everybody's equal.
Yeah, I never, and I get as excited about a sale if it's $300 or $3 million. I'm just happy to write a contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's always been the same way.
How do you go back and activate customers that have been with you, 10, 15, 25 years and leverage them for referrals or introductions? Is this something that you're constantly thinking about, or have you built it to the stage in your career where it's like, they call me just because I'm always available and I do whatever I can?
I think in today's world, the world of reviews, Yelp, Google, all these things, someone calls you, Derek, and says, hey, I need a security guy. Who else are you going to give them? You got a bunch of security guys in your phone book? Probably not. You might have a few.
I
right?
actually have a couple,
Yeah.
but I'm only introducing.
So,
Right.
so you know, and it might be niche to, you know, the size of it or something like that, or the category of business they're in. I think it all comes organically. You know, I think in life, we try to change things. Today, people change the way they look, they change the way they act, they do the organic thing, the way God wanted it done, you know, and it's all natural. You know, I think if you try too hard, that's where that bad sales guy comes in.
Yeah, the push pull mentality.
Exactly.
Yeah, give me a little bit more about how not to push rather to pull.
Well, you're a pusher. I'm just kidding. No, Liz, I think giving someone their space to think, giving somebody, you know, I'll give you, like, I've had clients that have 10 locations with me and they open up number 11 and they don't call me.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a little like, what happened? And then I realize, you know what? They were so comfortable with me. They want to make sure that they're getting the best. So if I'm doing my job, they might have gave location 11 to a different security company, but 12 through 25 is coming back to me. And if 11 wins, I better go and see what they did to learn from them. Because I don't want to lose any more sites, or I don't want that to happen to another customer. That happens a lot in the technology space too, right?
I can imagine.
So, sure. I mean, you know, if your service is right and you answer your phone, then what are you missing? Why did they go somewhere else? You know, I analyze why we lose, if we lose a customer. You know, I tell people, you know, they'll look at my contracts. Well, I don't want to sign this contract. I say, listen, you're going to leave me for one of two reasons. Either you don't like me, which we don't get a lot of, or my company screwed up, my service department screwed up, and I'll let you out of your contract. Or you sell your house or your business, you're going to be out of, out of the contract. So, you know, it takes a lot, in my opinion, to lose a customer. And the people who lose clients are the people who are the quick one and done. They don't call them, send them a Christmas card. You know, you make a phone call every year during the holidays, call them on their birthday. I mean, we have realtor friends that call you every single birthday. That's special. Yeah. That takes time out of their day. They're not making money doing it. Sometimes you got to do the things that don't make you money to make you money later in life.
I love that. Yeah. Repeat that again for people in the back.
Sometimes you got to do the things that don't make you money to make money later in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Planting seeds.
Absolutely. And a lot of that is just helping people, right? Talking to people, helping people. So if you do that, the success comes. The referrals come organically. You know, I think if you're good at what you do, people recognize it and your business grows. It might take time. You might be able to speed it up a little bit, right? With more networking or marketing and, things, that they can call you for those services. But if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you care, you're honest, you're providing a good product at a good price, good service. We have clients, it's funny, that they won't shop me. And every now and then I'm like, can you call another company? And they're
Really?
like, why do you want us to do that? I said, because I want you to know that I'm taking care of you. I want you to know that I don't take for granted that you give me that business automatically and that my margins are too high. So just get another quote just for your own peace of mind. Otherwise they also forget that I'm actually taking care of them. So I'd rather them talk to somebody else
and see how terrible their customer service is.
Not terrible, but just know they might be good too. I mean, we're not the only show in town, right? Nobody is.
Sure.
But just to know that I haven't got so comfortable that I don't appreciate them.
I like that. Yeah. It's a reminder too. Yeah. I mean, it's something that I lead with something like that. When I'm persistent, I don't call it pushing like you call it, but I am persistent in my process. And one of the things I'll say to people is, whether you buy from me or not, just know if you call me in 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 years, and you have any question or want an introduction, I'm always going to be there for you.
And you do a great job with that. And I think that's crucial, but there are guys, and a lot of them, we're the minority in that space. There are guys that if you don't buy from them,
they cut you off.
They'll cut you off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that with salespeople. They just like, you know what? Screw you then. Instead of wondering why they made that decision.
And learning from it.
And I'll ask, because I'm curious, right? So if someone's going to buy a camera system or an access control system and go to somebody else, I'm curious why they did it. And I've had clients, you know, in big developers in town that build a lot of apartments or hotels. And these are very large projects, right? So when you don't get one, you get a little, you know, upset by it. You're wondering, hey, what did I do wrong? I hit my, you know, the job hit all its numbers. We were on time. We were on budget. We didn't have any change orders. Why did they go to ABC company on the next project? And they'll say, hey, we just want to see what they're going to do different. We wanted to compare apples to apples to know who we go with on the next 5 projects. And I respect that. As if I was a developer, I would probably do the same thing.
Sure.
It only makes sense to do.
As part of the business.
You know, in my business, you're unique. There's not a lot of people like you, right? There's a lot of security companies out there. There's a lot of guys out there who say they can do exactly what Securatech does. And there's a few that can. There's a lot that can't, just based on, you know, size and having the workforce to do it. So I think as long as you're honest and truthful, you respect your customers' decisions, everything works out for you.
That's great advice. I want to make a comment and just give people a little bit more background about you, because it seems like everyone that you work with in service are your friends. And a lot of people in sales or in customer service business tote that, you know, I'm friendly with my clients. But for you, it's like they're the same. I mean, your friends and clients are your friends and clients. It's amazing.
Somehow or another, my clients become my friends.
It's amazing to see that. I think it's a big part of what we do is we develop relationships with people that we want to work with. That's a beauty of and a blessing of what we do. And you also have this this ability, I guess, or this interest in you leverage cigars, right? That's a hobby of yours and something that you enjoy doing. But I see that you leverage cigars to build your network. You enjoy them with your friends. How do you leverage cigars and your interest in cigars to expand your network?
Well,
let me rephrase that.
First question.
Let me rephrase that. How do you leverage cigars and your interest in them to help you develop relationships?
So cigar smokers are a unique breed of men or women. If you're a true cigar smoker, you get as much joy as giving somebody a cigar as smoking a cigar. The cigar community has really boomed too. So there's a lot more of us than there was when I started smoking cigars years back. Now, my wife is going to hate this conversation because she hates the cigars, right?
Turn it off.
But where can you go? An average cigar takes 30 minutes to an hour to smoke. You enjoy it, right? You might be spending $20 on it, 10, 30, 50. It depends on what it is. Where can you go and sit there and talk to somebody for 30 minutes or an hour and enjoy something? You know, people do it over golf or something like that, but then you're mad about the golf game or, you know, what it is. I always say, you really want to get to know somebody, smoke a cigar with them. Sit down and smoke a cigar with them. You got to talk about something for that time period.
Sure.
And I think and you learn a lot about people who smoke cigars. You know, it's funny. I had a company that came to my office a few days ago, and I knew one of the owners from years back. He was one of my old customers, and I knew he was a cigar guy. So before he left the office, I went into my office and I grabbed a couple special cigars and I gave it to him. And that to me felt just as good as if I would have smoked a cigar with him. And I knew that he knew that, and he would have done the same thing. It's the cigar world is different than anything else. You enjoy the time, and I feel like you really can bond with somebody over a cigar.
I like that.
You know, it's quiet. Now, you know, obviously if you're smoking a cigar at some nightclub or something, you're not going to hear them, but that's not my
that's not how you enjoy
what
it.
I do, right?
Yeah, right.
I can sit down or sit on a chair outside somewhere and talk about family, life, politics, whatever it is. And you got that one-on-one time with that cigar. I mean, we've had a cigar group for 15 years that has dinner once a month, the same 10 guys, first Wednesday of every month. And we book our vacations around that date.
Wow.
In, those 10 guys over 15 years, I don't think anybody's missed 5 dinners in 15 years. And we meet 12 times a year.
I had no idea you had that kind of group.
So, and a lot of businessmen smoke cigars, right? So it helps with networking and business also. I think cigars, like golf, are good for business.
Would you recommend somebody start a cigar club or?
Oh, there's cigar clubs. There's some new stuff coming to town that we can talk about later. That's not real public yet on cigar clubs and private cigar clubs. I think so, but I'm going to tell you, you got to be a good human, and people got to like you and respect you and your profession. Just because you smoke a cigar doesn't mean you're a good guy, right?
Sure.
There, and I'm not going to tell people they should start smoking cigars either, because it's still a bad habit, right?
Sure.
So, I've used it. I've always enjoyed cigars, and a lot of my network does. A lot of my clients do, and it's just fluke that they do. We don't pick out a client thinking, do they smoke cigars or not?
It's a total value add, and an opportunity to further develop relationships. I love the idea of talking about your family, talking about where you like to dine with families, take your wife out for dinner. You do plan vacations together. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that's a great way to build relationships and enjoy someone's time.
In your first part of your question was, why are your friends your clients and vice versa? I think a lot of that is because I answer my phone. So if a client calls me on my cell phone, which I tell all of them, you can always call me on my cell phone. Don't bother calling the 800 number and going through my operators and everything else, unless it's an alarm, right? And you need somebody at the office. But if you need me, just call my cell phone. So when they call me, they might hear my kids in the background. They might hear me doing something. And then that conversation becomes personal. It's not why they called me. How old are your kids? Well, how old are your kids? Where do your kids go to school? What are you doing tonight? What's for dinner? What are you cooking?
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, hey, let's go have dinner with our wives, or, whatever it is. And then slowly, I think it becomes personal. And security is an intimate part of somebody's life and business. I'm securing their business, their employees, their family, their kids. I think they need that from somebody like me, so they feel warm and fuzzy about the safety and security of their family.
I love that. Let's transition, if you could. I know that a big problem in this country that we're seeing, I want to ask you a business-related question, but a big problem in this country is the school shootings that we're seeing more now. It seems like weekly. I hate to say it. Growing up, we didn't see that kind of stuff. But it just seems to be in the last 10, 15 years, 20 years that we're seeing these more prevalent in our country, and it's terrible. I don't have the answer for it. There are people in DC that don't have the answer for it, that represent us, and it seems to be a societal issue that we need to address. I love what your company is doing in this space and securitizing schools. Can you tell me a little bit more about how we solve the school shooting issue in this country?
I wish I had the simple answer. I think there's a lot of things that we need to do as a country to slow it down. I don't know if we're ever going to stop it. I was looking at the shooting in Texas the other day in an outdoor mall. As a security expert that has all these tricks up my sleeve of how to keep people safe, I don't know how I would have kept that situation from not happening. As a country, when you have your Second Amendment and you can carry a gun, it becomes very hard to know who's a good guy and who's a bad guy. So you got to start there. Securatech is trying to revolutionize the way schools are securing themselves. We have some programs. We're going to be putting together some case study schools that I think are going to be the most secure schools in the country. Is it going to stop it from ever happening? No. Can every school run with that technology and the things that we want to implement? We recently won a bid with Oakland County on some school districts, and that's continuing to grow. We're We're upgrading their management software of their cameras. We're adding cameras. We're adding some different devices. We're testing pretty much any technology under the sun as case studies to see how they're doing to slow this down.
Without divulging any of your IP, I mean, can you tell us some of what can we look forward to?
Well, you're gonna look forward to gun detection technology that will stop somebody from getting into a school or slow them down before they get anywhere near the school.
That's amazing.
That's something that we're testing and working on. We have some exclusive distribution deals on this to where if it works as well as I think it's going to work, will make a significant difference. Now, the scary part of that is if someone's got some issues in their head and they can't get into school, they can still shoot people outside the school. Right? Nobody can control that. We have a gun problem in this country that people don't like to admit. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the right feels one way, the left feels one way. Nobody wants to meet in the middle, but we got to get to a point where we meet in the middle. I think there's some easy solutions with gun reform that will help. But it's going to take generations to make the difference. Yeah. So at what point are we going to start? So I think that till we start and your far right Republicans say, you know what, we need to make some changes. And the NRA backs down a little bit and says, you're right. We'll still support you guys, if you say something. So I'm going to get involved in that part of the politics. And I have some ideas that I think would make a difference. I don't think anybody needs to go buy a gun today. They want to buy a gun, I think they should go through a process. My theory is simple. If you've ever bought a life insurance process, or a life insurance policy, there's a process to it.
Sure.
They look at what drugs you've been on, your credit, they know everything about you, right? So anybody who's bought a decent sized life insurance policy knows the process. Why don't we have that same process with buying a gun? And if you want to buy a gun today, why do you need to pick it up today? Why don't we make you wait a week or a month? That way, if you got something bad in your head, you might cool off. So I think there's things we can do. Do 18-year-olds need to go buy AR-15s or AK-47s? I don't think so. And I see the fight on both sides. But like all politics, we got to find a middle ground. Unfortunately, in today's age, everybody's far right or far left, and there's not enough people in the middle.
Yeah, I think some great points and some interesting. It's an interesting perspective. We need a lot of change in this country. Yeah. Obviously the report came out of what happened at the Michigan State campus a little while back, and to my surprise and maybe to many others, the shooter had no connection to the school whatsoever. Just totally random.
We can't ignore the mental health issues in this country. You mix the mental health issues, the easy availability to get a gun, but none of these are quick fixes.
No.
So we have, from a security standpoint, I have to do whatever I got to do to keep our kids safe. That's my goal. We're putting all of our eggs in that basket as far as working with technology, working with superintendents, working with police chiefs, working with sheriffs, doing everything we can do to curve it, because I can't say that I can stop it. You can't, we have a lot of guns on these streets, legal and illegal.
More than one for every person in this country, if I understand the numbers correctly.
I believe so. It's close. It's insane. I mean, if nobody was killing each other, then it wouldn't be a problem, but it is. And, we talk about school shootings and they get a lot of publicity, but just the shootings every day, the one guy shooting one guy. I mean, there's the gun violence is in America is crazy.
Well, you're up to an important task, trying to keep our kids safe at schools. And I think if local communities or counties or the different police departments or sheriff's offices can hear some of this, I'd love to have them get in touch with you to learn a little bit more about what you're doing.
We're meeting with them. We have a lot of things in the works with new technology that's recently came out. There's going to be some adjustments to the way schools are, and people have to get used to it. I mean, if you walk into Oxford High School today and you walk into Birmingham Groves, it's two different worlds, because Oxford had an incident and now they're reactive, and there's metal detectors, there's armed guards. No other high school really has that, right?
Do you think we need that across the country?
I think we need two. I think the first and most easy and quick thing we can do, we have all of these wonderful veterans that fight for their life for us. When they get out, they should have a great job protecting kids at schools. Simple fix.
Seems like a lot of them would sign up for that.
Well, we're the number one veteran hiring security company, right? So we hire them as security guards. We've been recognized by the U.S. Army for that. I think you were at the event where we did. So why not give them a good career, pay them a good wage, and have two armed guards concealed? It doesn't need to, they don't need to sit there in soldier uniforms, and be at every school. I think that would curb it substantially. You add some technology behind that, then I think our numbers can be reduced by 60, 70, 80%.
That's substantial.
It's huge.
I mean, even if it was a 10%,
yeah. And it doesn't matter, because what cost are we putting on these kids' lives?
Right.
Right. If you look at what these schools spend on certain things, they can find that money. It's not that much money. I mean, Oxford's doing it now. How are they doing it? So, if they want to do it, they could do it. I think every school should have two armed guards. That's what I think they should have.
That's what it might take in this country, right?
What do we got to lose? Money, but you're saving lives? It's a no-brainer. If I was a superintendent of a school, and no disrespect to any of the superintendents that I talk to, that would be mandatory for me. High schools, 2, middle schools, 1 or 2, depending on size, and elementary school, 1. There's no reason not to.
What's been the biggest objection that you've heard from these superintendents, these local leaders, or is it maybe the school board, that say, we don't want to have this presence on our campus?
I think politics falls into play there too, right? So if somebody's anti-gun, they don't want a guard with a gun at the school. I think that there's that. I think that they don't want kids to be scared or see that presence. I think there's a lot of different reasons. They have to deal with all these parents, right? So everybody's got their own opinion of what to do. And they all, I was talking to a president of a private school, and he said his biggest fear that keeps him up at night is the safety of his kids, and God forbid a shooting of some sort. It's not anything else, not the academics, not raising funds, not winning a football championship. The only thing that scares him and keeps him up at night is safety.
Yeah, that's terrible. I mean, when we were growing up, it was, what college might you get into?
How
many wins would you get in the football
Now, it
team?
happened, if you look historically at school shootings, they did happen back then. We didn't have a 24-hour news cycle. It wasn't emphasized like it is today. But it did happen, just not as often. And it wasn't as deadly, but today it's happening. And, I think our mental health has declined. I think there's a lot of issues, and you can only slowly curve them.
Yeah.
There is unfortunately, no easy fix, but we're trying our best. I think with some things that we're going to have done for next year's school cycle, you'll see some case studies out there, some schools that are going to be recognized as far as the safety features they're going to have, whether it's physical or technology or both. And I think that's going to make a difference.
If there is a superintendent or somebody in higher ed or just education in general interested in having a conversation with you, give them your cell.
Always give my
give them your cell. Okay.
I mean, they can call my office. They can give my cell. There's been recent press releases about us winning the school districts we've won. We have a reputation out there, the company and myself. I'm always willing to talk to anybody. Any person that has any security question, anything that they need, they call me and I will talk to them. You know, everybody needs to feel
Safe.
safe.
Yes.
Everybody needs to feel safe, whether it's in their business, in their home, their kid's school, their church, or whatever their community center, their mall. I mean, do we want to be scared to send our kids to the mall? No, but it's the kind of the wacky world we're living in right now.
Yeah, we appreciate you working towards that goal. It's a noble effort. You happen to make a business out of it, which is terrific. You've also expanded your business and practice into many states. You're in Michigan. I know that you have a practice in California. So a national platform that you're developing.
Yeah, I mean,
tell us a little bit more about that.
If you're an existing customer, we'll go anywhere for you. We do have a smaller office in California. We cover the entire state of Michigan. We have projects and clients throughout the Midwest. We're really all over the place. So, I mean, we have projects right now in Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Minnesota. We're probably going to franchise into some other states for some other security companies who want to use our brand and use everything that we've built, all of our procedures and protocols and technology and things like that. So Securatech's continuing to grow. That's for sure.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that you're hiring a lot of former servicemen and women to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a big part of where you're sourcing talent, or are there other people, a talent pool that you're looking for to help you?
So on our security guard side, we have a program with the U.S. Army. So right when they get out, we guarantee them an interview. And if they're qualified, they have a job waiting for them. So, veterans are used to that type of work. They actually enjoy that. They want to protect and serve. So in our security guard, our physical side of the business, physical security side of the business, that's something that at the end of the day, we might end up being 80% veteran employers on that side. On the technology side, we work with colleges. We do a lot of job fairs. Any schools that are technology related, we work with. So, we're always trying to add to our pool of employees, but the trick is getting the good ones.
Did you see yourself in this position 27 years ago, starting out, finding the job opportunity in a newspaper clipping into where you are today?
No. But it was my goal once I got in a little bit, right? I saw the company that I started with and how they started and how they grew from a, one person selling alarms to building the conglomerate they did. So I knew it was possible with the right people. You got to have the right mentors, the right friends, the right partner in life. You don't have all those things. Things like this don't happen. They just don't. I mean, I have specific people in my life that have helped me throughout this whole process that I thank daily and never forget. I think you need that, so the saying of "show me your friends, I'll show you your future." That's it. I tell my kids that all the time. I tell everybody that. I try to surround myself with people smarter than me, people who've made good decisions in life, personally and professionally, because it all blends together at the end of the day.
Let's talk to the young person, ambitious, looking at a job opportunity, 100% commissionable because they want to bet on themselves. What's the best piece of advice that you have? I mean, this interview has been fantastic for that particular person, but if you want to speak to them directly, give them some words of advice on getting in and get going.
Your reputation is everything. So don't ruin it for a sale. That's number one. Number two, throw away the 9 to 5 hours because you'll be mediocre at best. Work hard, build good relationships, be honest with your clients, perfect your product, understand it, the goods, the bads, the difference, and make sure you're answering your phone. People will call me and say, I need to switch alarm companies. They never service me. They never answer their phone. And I'm like, it's the easiest part of my day is answering my phone. So answer your phone and work hard and be honest with your clients, and it'll all come together. It takes 20 years to build a relationship and 20 minutes to lose it. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 20 minutes to lose it. One bad decision will destroy a reputation. But once you have that reputation, the world could be yours. You just have to run with it.
And maybe enjoy a cigar or two along the way.
Well, I think you should enjoy your life,
Yeah,
right? I think you should enjoy your life. It's not all work. You know, if you're lucky enough to find a field that you truly love, great, but you got to enjoy your life. You know, you got to enjoy your family and your friends. You can't just work, but when you work really hard and you make a couple of bucks, it makes the rest of the stuff a little bit easier. You know, you can go on that vacation. You can, you know, buy that $20 cigar or that nice bottle of wine. And then you help people. You know, don't be afraid to help people. A lot of people don't help people. You know, if you know a lot of the people I surround myself with, you name me one of them that is not the most humble, be humble, the most humble person that doesn't help people. Whether it's free advice.
They're all helpers.
They're all helpers.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's what I've learned is to help people. So that young guy, I had a guy that I knew recently who wanted to start a security company. And he was kind of afraid to tell me because we were kind of friends. And I said, I'll help you through the whole process. I'll even give you my whole platform and everything. I wish you all the best luck in the world. You know, he's like, why would you do this? Because there's enough business out there for everybody. So as long as you help people and you're humble, and take every day for that day. Don't worry about, you know, tomorrow. There was a basketball game, the Lakers game yesterday. If you listen to the head coach after the game, he said each game is its own entity. So I looked at that as life. Every day is its own entity. It doesn't mean you're going to win tomorrow. Because you were a good guy and honest today doesn't mean that you're going to be tomorrow. So take every day as its own entity.
I like that approach.
Every client is its own entity, and every employee. And you know, I thought that resonated with me.
I love that. Yeah, it's a good way to close it. We'll have to do this again when you have an update and some case studies on some of the work that you've done. I wish you the best on that journey because it's important work, and I think it's above making money. Right now, you're trying to solve a problem for the country, really, and so I wish you all the best with it. We'll have to do this again.
I hope so. Trust me, I'd love to have any part of that. And definitely the money is meaningless if I could make a change. Well,
the next time we do this, may I propose that we do this with a cigar and we'll enjoy
I just don't want you to choke.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
You, Derek.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Power Connector podcast with my special guest today, Rudy Patros of Securatech, a nationally driven security company, revolutionizing security, helping to save our schools and to keep everyone safe, and most importantly, sleeping at night. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Power Connector podcast. I'm Derek Dickow. Hope you enjoyed this podcast where you download podcasts. We'll see you soon on the next episode.